Hey everybody, loopy week ahead. We've got a lunar eclipse on May 26th, Venus square Neptune on May 27th, and Mercury turning retrograde on May 29th. Talk about a jam-packed week. Well, the best word of advice that I can give you is to take everything with a grain of salt, apply Murphy's Law to any and all things, and most importantly, keep your sense of humor handy. Hello, I'm Christopher Renstrom, your weekly horoscope columnist here on Astrology Hub, and I wanted to talk to you about the loopy week ahead, but more in particular, the lunar eclipse, which will be taking place on May 26th. Now, eclipses, for people who may not be too familiar with them, either the sun is eclipsed by the moon passing in front of it, or the full moon is eclipsed by the shadow of the earth passing in front of it. These signified tremendous portents back in the day, meaning 2,500 years ago, because it was so unusual that the light of the sun would be blocked in the light of day, or that the light of the moon, the full moon, would be blocked at night. This idea of the luminaries, which had always been so consistent and so regular in their appearance, that they would suddenly be darkened in the sky, was a cause for great alarm and panic. Now, over 2,500 years of astrology, eclipses don't quite carry the same fear and panic that they used to, but there's still a time that astrologers look out for with great reverence and respect. Now, a solar eclipse, which is when the moon passes in front of the sun, I want you to kind of imagine that you're driving down a highway, and a solar eclipse deals with changing the course of your life. Okay, that's basically what a solar eclipse does. If it happens within about 3 degrees to a very important planet in your horoscope, it's going to signify a sudden shift or change in your life course direction. Okay, so I want you to think of sort of like a solar eclipse is looking through the windshield at the road ahead of you, okay? And let's say you're looking at the windshield at the road ahead of you, and you've been given directions to go to a certain place that you have no idea of where it is that you're going. So you've got Siri or your smartphone or something giving you these directions audibly, and you're driving down the highway, and you suddenly realize that the turnoff, Siri might say, turn off now, or something like that the turn off is right now, and you happen to be at the furthest lane over to the left away from the exit ramp. Well, there's that moment when it's like, I got to get off that exit ramp. And so you will turn and hopefully not cause too many cars to honk at you or whatever as you veer off to go off that exit ramp and get to the place where you need to go. Well, that's basically how a solar eclipse works. You think that you're heading in the right direction, and then all of a sudden there's a realization, mostly because of the planets and them sending not so subtle signals, that you need to change the life direction in your life, like pronto, like right now. Okay. And that's pretty much what a solar eclipse is. It's about looking at the road forward, looking at the future, realizing that you have to change your life direction and doing whatever it takes to go ahead and do that. So solar eclipses are pretty much active, and they're very much future oriented, and they're very much about getting on course with where you want to go in life. Okay. That's basically how I want you to think of a solar eclipse. But this week we're experiencing a lunar eclipse. And a lunar eclipse is a very different animal. So with the lunar eclipse, what we want to do is that we want to visualize looking at the rear view mirror, okay? So a lunar eclipse is looking back over the road that you have just traveled, okay? And the period of time that it usually involves is 6 months, okay? So you want to think of May 26th, and then you want to think of 6 months before May 26th. Now, not to the exact day, but around that time. Give it about 2 weeks on either side of what would be the 6 months before May 26th. Now, a lunar eclipse asks one question, and one question only, which is, are you on iffy ground? Okay, so this question, are you on iffy ground, is kind of like, okay, well, what exactly does that mean? What a lunar eclipse is going to ask you is the relationship, for instance, that you're involved in, or the relationship that you want to be involved in, maybe you're crushing on someone or you've been dating for a while, is it going anywhere? Really? You know, do you feel like you and this person are connected? Do you feel like you and this person are making progress? Do you feel like you and this person are getting anywhere? Okay. Now, if you're happen to be at the stage where it's like, well, I really like this person a lot, but I haven't said anything for weeks or months, then the lunar eclipse is basically going to say, you know what? You're not getting anywhere. Let's say you're involved in a creative project or an endeavor, trying to get it off the ground, trying to get it to go somewhere. And let's say at this point of the juncture, more money is going out than is coming in, or this project or juncture just isn't coming together, okay? Are you on iffy ground? Yeah, you are. It's not going anywhere. It's not coming together in the way that you want. A third area of life that can be affected during a lunar eclipse, because the moon rules over the body, is how's your health doing? Do you feel all of a sudden like there's a collapse of a situation, or that you're not getting anywhere with a regimen, or that suddenly you discovered something which is a cause of concern? Okay. Anything that emerges during this time, during a lunar eclipse, that feels stalled, like it's not getting anywhere, or is even unraveling, okay, this is the time when you say goodbye. Okay, this is basically the time when you pull the plug. Now, a lot of us don't really like being told, time to pull the plug. It's kind of like, wait, hey, hold on a bit. That's my life you're talking about. I mean, like, maybe I didn't do everything. Maybe this person really didn't get the message, or, oh, what I'm suffering from is no big deal. I've suffered from it before, or something along those lines. This is not the time to sweep things under the rug. This is not the time to say, well, maybe if. This isn't the time to say, oh, I've gone through this before, it's no big deal. No. If it's a health matter particularly, you want to pay attention to it, see your physician, talk about it right away. 95% of the chance, if it's an issue, it's something that you're going to be able to nip in the bud. If it's a relationship that's not going anywhere, it's not going anywhere. And if it's a project that's not getting off the ground, it's not going to get off the ground. It doesn't feel great in the moment to say that during a period of time like this, but at the same time, it can also bring a tremendous amount of relief, because it's like, I'm tired of like barking up the wrong tree, or banging my head against the wall, or trying to make something work that's not going to. And so the lunar eclipse energy will allow it to unravel and to fall apart, and almost for you to step out of it, okay? Which can be a very nice and relieving thing, because the whole point of a lunar eclipse is to clear away the dead wood for the new life path that is either about to emerge or just emerging. Now, let's say you began a relationship, it's in the last 6 months or so, and it's been bumpy, hasn't been really great, but you're trying. You realize that both sides are actually trying. Maybe you've had to deal with miscues or misunderstandings or something, but you're both trying, and you're both still talking to each other, and you're both kind of like, let's see where this goes. This is the time during a lunar eclipse when you actually want to redouble your efforts. Put more effort into what you're doing. That's the cue that you're getting from the moon. Let's say, you began a project or a company or something like that. It's been a struggle, but it's making a little bit of a profit, or it's showing some signs of life. Go ahead and redouble the efforts. Put energy back into it. Kind of think of it as, get some fertilizer and pour it on that plant. It's not out of the game yet. Okay, so this is the time to do it. And also when it deals with health matters, as I said, I'm very conservative about those sorts of things. If there's something that feels off, go and get it checked out. Because again, during a lunar eclipse, chances are, very good chance, this is something that you're going to be nipping in the bud or taking care of before it deteriorates or causes any more of a problem. Now, very quickly, just sort of to address the other two transits that are taking place, Venus and Neptune square, that's pretty straightforward. Let's just face it, your style or taste isn't operating really well under a Neptune square. So that outfit that you think is great, or that nose job that you think you should be getting, or that hair color that you want to try out, bad idea, okay? Because it's a Neptune square. Looks good to you, looks good in the catalog, looks good in your imagination. But, about 3 to 5 days from the 27th, when Venus has moved out of orb of that Neptune, you might find yourself scratching your heads going, was I thinking? Okay, so do yourself a favor. Avoid a beauty disaster, okay? Never a good idea to do anything like that during a Venus-Neptune square. And finally, we have the Mercury retrograde, which starts on May 29th. Now, a lot of things are said about Mercury retrogrades, and we've talked a little bit about it here before. But with Mercury retrograde, I like to apply 4 things, okay? Which is, first of all, back up your computer, okay, or any other tech. Go ahead and back it up, even if you're like, oh, I don't feel, back it up, okay? Because usually during Mercury retrogrades, especially in Gemini, if anything can happen to tech, it will. If there's a loose thing or a weak link, it will happen. So just go ahead and do that. You'll feel a lot better. Secondly, if you're engaging in any sort of purchase or sale or deal right now, optimally, it would be great if you could postpone until June 23rd, when Mercury turns direct. But a lot of times we have to conduct business and our lives during adverse planetary aspects. And so when the planets are being adverse, they're not saying don't do anything. They're just saying take that extra step or be extra cautious or vigilant. And let's face it, we have our lives to live. We can't just go and hole up for a period of time. Okay, so when Mercury is retrograde, especially in Gemini, which is a very commercial type of sign, commerce, you want to check the fine print on all sorts of any sort of bill of sale, contracts. You want to hold on to your receipts. You want to keep an email record of things just in case you have to go back and validate something or go looking for something that disappeared in the mail. The third thing that I like to advise during a Mercury retrograde is to apply Murphy's Law to any and all things. I don't know if you are all familiar with Murphy's Law, but Murphy's Law is very simple. It's the idea that if something can go wrong, it will. Okay, so perfect law to apply to a Mercury retrograde. If something can go wrong, it will. And what that puts you is it prepares you, it makes you anticipate, it makes you say, okay, things aren't going to go so swimmingly or so smoothly right now, so I better keep an eye out for it. So when it unravels and falls apart, and maybe you're hearing a theme here between the lunar eclipse and the Mercury retrograde, if anything sort of unravels or falls apart, knowing that if anything can go wrong, that it will, prepares you for that so that you're not, thrown for a loop. And then finally, what I like to say during Mercury retrograde is add 2 weeks to any deadline that you're working on right now. Doesn't matter what the deadline is. Maybe it's a month from now, maybe it's 6 weeks from now, something like that. Add 2 weeks to any deadline that you're working on right now. Again, if you can prepare yourself to go ahead and do that, then you should be able to emerge from the Mercury retrograde relatively unscathed. And they're not really all that bad. They're just kind of like, pain in the derriere. All right. So anyway, hopefully this will work for you as you navigate the loopy week ahead, and also this period of time when Mercury will be retrograde from May 29th to June 23rd. Okay. Bye.